Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content. Everybody's finally coming over to my side on the A.J. Brown Philadelphia Eagles story. So I never said he was a bad guy, and I never said he wasn't a great player. He's both. He's a bad fit in Philly. And I said last year, after the Super Bowl, trade him. I said at the trade deadline, trade him. They didn't. And now he's got all the leverage. What are they going to do? Every time you put a mic in front of him, he's speaking out. Here's A.J. Brown's latest diatribe on the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
At what point are we going to pick up our slack as an offense that we're so great, you know? And that's what I'm getting at. It's not about we're not winning or I don't care about winning. All I care about is stat. No, it's been week after week sometimes we're not contributing. We're not doing our job on offense. So you can't just keep slapping the Band-Aid over that and you expect to win late in the year and you think you're going to go to it at the end of the year. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, you know? And last year, what it was, thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. They adapted. We have to adapt.
So now, you know, he knows he's got all the leverage. Right before the trade deadline, you don't want to get shipped off to Jacksonville. Or after the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, Eagles have a lot of time in the front office, so I better watch out. Now, Philly's trapped. And there's only two things that take a Super Bowl roster out of Super Bowls. Number one, cluster injuries. Your whole offensive line gets hurt like the Chargers. Or drama. And this is drama. And the Eagles now are doing the worst thing you can do. They're forcing the ball to him. They're trying to appease him, like that last throw down the field against the Packers. They're now just trying to appease him. That's the worst thing you can do. So the Eagles are averaging 24 points and a measly 300 yards of offense. In the one game A.J. Brown didn't play, they scored 38 points and had 430 yards. So this is not terribly complicated. And over the last 5 games, yesterday J-Mac said, well, who do you throw to? Well, over the last 5 games, the third leading receiver in the NFL is Devontae Smith. I'm not saying Devontae's better than A.J. Brown, but he's a better fit. So they have a number one receiver. They have a great back, a good O-line, a good quarterback, but it's the old, you know, pizza at a Mexican restaurant. I'm not saying the pizza's not great, and it's kind of weird that it's on the menu, but you can be a great player, you can be a great guy, and it can just be a weird fit. And now that you didn't trade him, he has all the leverage. And Philadelphia is probably the best sports talk radio market in the country in terms of driving narratives, driving fan opinion, getting people fired. So this is just, I mean, this is a piñata for the aggressive Philadelphia media to bat around. And I like him a lot. I think A.J. Brown, I don't think he's a problem. I think he's a great player. But I've said if you're a Hall of Fame player and you already got your money and you've already got your ring, A.J. Brown now wants production. He's an all-time talent. He wants all-time production. He's got the money. He's got the ring. He's got the legacy. He wants production. And this is just not a good fit. It's also a reminder, and we've said this for years in the NBA, if a player wants to be traded, get him out of the door. The longer you wait, the media talks about it, you lose your leverage. Other GMs know, oh, okay, well, they've got to trade him. So Howie Roseman has always been ahead of the curve and a step ahead, and he sees around corners. But now A.J. Brown's got the leverage. And, you know, yesterday, Nick Sirianni said, you know, I'm about done talking about it. Well, it's not fabricated. It's not that the Philadelphia media is making stuff up. Every time you put a mic in front of A.J. Brown, he's talking. So it's just a out of control train here that's kind of, you know, gone off the tracks. And there's only a couple of things that can blow up a Super Bowl locker room, and it's cluster injuries and it's drama, and this is the latter, clearly. So Mike Kafka's taken over for the New York Giants. He's the interim coach. You know I don't love interim coaches. I would keep coaches to the end of a season. It becomes the substitute teacher. Everybody loves the substitute teacher, but she's not as good as the teacher. She just gives out less homework and laughs at your jokes. So Mike Kafka is now taking control. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Players are going to like him because he's not as bombastic as Brian Daboll. Jackson Dart, should play well with him. He's a former NFL quarterback. He's young and smart, so the media will like him. Andy Reid will call on his behalf at the end of the season. That'll have influence. And if you look at the New York Giants schedule, looks like those last 4 games are all winnable. Washington, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Dallas. What if they go 3-1 down the stretch? Well, that's when Mike Kafka will be named the new head coach of the New York Giants. But what's wrong with the New York Giants isn't schemes. Their culture is broken. So, by the way, the Jets, their culture is broken. So they don't need a scheme guy. Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, scheme guys. Mike Kafka, scheme guy. They don't need that. They need a Mike Vrabel. They need a Jim Harbaugh, a John Harbaugh. They need a Sean McVay, although there's not one of those on the market. They need a culture creator, a Dan Campbell. They don't need a Mike McDaniel, which is a smart guy who's good with schemes. Their culture's all messed up. So every time they've gone with scheme guy, smart scheme guy, it doesn't work. Who works in New York? Joe Torre, Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin, right? Culture guys. That's what we're, Rick Pitino, St. John's. Hey, I'm smart. I can call plays. That may work in Jacksonville. In New York is big and dynamic and loud and restless. And so Kafka's going to win games. The schedule's weak. Jackson Dart will play pretty well. The players will like him. The media will. But the Giants' stars, Abdul Carter, Scatterboo, Jackson Dart, Neighbors, their stars are young. They're learning on the job. I don't want a coach learning on the job with them. If I've got a young team, like Green Bay's young. Well, Matt LaFleur's been around a while. I think it's harder when you have a young team and a really young coach. I remember when Sean McVay took over the Rams. They had Aaron Donald, and they went and got Andrew Whitworth. They had a young quarterback, but he wanted to bring in some veterans. He wanted to have leaders and presence on that team. So, and I think Mike Kafka's a nice guy. He's a smart guy. The players will like him. But he's interviewed 6 times, no head coaching job. I made 2 calls a couple days ago. Everybody said smart guy, nice guy, knows quarterbacks, not sure if he has a presence. And that's what I'm saying. Parcells, Joe Torre, Pat Riley with the Knicks. Tibbs, presence, like an identity, been around the block. Here's the interim coach.
This is a league of incredibly difficult situations, decisions, and I just have the utmost respect for Dave's and what he's done for me, not only as a friend but as a coach. Giving me an opportunity here to be an offensive coordinator. In terms of where we're at right now, I'm excited to lead this group. Focusing each day, taking kind of just one step at a time with the players and the coaches and getting organized. But I'm excited and looking forward to the challenge.
He's going to win some games. Look at that schedule. The players are going to like him. And the media's going to like him. I just don't think that's what the Giants and their broken culture, big picture, need. Say it again. Lane Kiffin, he knows schemes. He's kind of a culture guy. Kind of changes the attitude of a team. Mike McCarthy, he knows schemes, but he's built good offensive cultures.
Hey, Josh, tell me about Quick Trip.
Brother, it's my lifeline right now, fueling me to every single stop that we go on this tour in the fall, the old Fall Don't Lie tour. Quick Trip. So the best thing about partnerships is when it organically forms. When someone who runs a major corporation hits you up and says, hey, man, I've been watching your show for a long time. We'd love to be a partner. That's beautiful. That's what Quick Trip was for me. So, you see them all over the place in the South. You see them a little bit more in the Midwest, spreading the footprint a little bit. But, you can get gas in any gas station. Colin, it's the cold brew on tap for me. It's walking in there and having 37 different kinds of cold brew, and you fill it up and you're on your way. It's been a beautiful partnership.
By the way, I'm reading another story this morning. Aaron Rodgers under fire for Steelers' downfall. Why are you blaming Aaron? Pittsburgh's offense has been unwatchable for like 7 years. He just stepped into their quicksand.
Yeah, but he's a Hall of Famer, Colin. He's supposed to solve the problems. I've seen this movie before. It was with the Jets. And that's what we wanted Rodgers to do, bail us out. And he couldn't do it. And that's why they got off him. So he's now your problem, Pittsburgh.
Through 9 games, he is tied. He has the most Steeler touchdown passes since Big Ben's last season.
Woo!
Through 9 games. That tells you not about Aaron Rodgers. That tells you about the dysfunction of Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin does not seem to think it's a pressing issue. Here was Mike Tomlin this week talking about the clunker last week.
I'm not going to, chalk it up to an off night, but there are no long-term concerns. I'm just not going to allow your words to be my words. That's all.
How would you describe Aaron?
Sunday night was what it was, but I have no long-term reservations about his ability to play the position and play the position at a high level for us.
Yeah, I just think in a Wi-Fi world, they feel like a dial-up. In a digital world, they feel analog. Remember years and years ago, Apple discontinued 70% of its line because it wanted to concentrate like on the iPad and the iPhone. And they just discontinued 70% of their prospects, products, whatever. I feel like that's Pittsburgh. They should just get rid of about 70% of their defensive contracts and pivot to digital and their version of the iPhone. Like, I just think they've got expensive contracts. They're old on defense. I think they just have to make a complete cultural pivot to offense. Miami Dolphins did this a few years ago from Brian Flores to Mike McDaniel, and it worked for about a year and a half, 2 years. But I don't think it's an Aaron Rodgers issue. I really don't. I think their offense is quicksand, and he stepped in it, and he's getting pulled down. That's how I see it. And with that, Greg Cosell, 46 years, NFL Films, is joining us. Well, when you have the Chicago Bears history, you can't worry about what it looks like. If you're winning, you just got to be really happy about it. So I thought last week, it was, you saw some stuff with Caleb. Now, I've always defended him. He doesn't throw picks, and he's really durable. And we're watching Jackson Dart get hurt and Jane Daniels get hurt. And right. Penix, Caleb doesn't get hurt. High school, college, pro, and he does not throw picks. Now, he holds the ball too long. But I'm going to guess that when you looked at the film of this week, there were probably some things that looked like growth because it felt like it on television. I felt like I was seeing growth. Did the film say that?
Well, he's uneven every week to a certain extent. There's always plays where I know that when Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams get together the next day and go over the film, that Ben Johnson's going to point out a lot of things. But he makes 3 to 5 plays every game that are truly wow plays. And he makes some incredible throws. Now it's really funny in this game because that winning touchdown that he ran for a touchdown, which I believe we're looking at right now, was really a really poor decision that ended up with a great result because the ball should have been thrown to Cole Kmet. That was the design of the play, and he was wide open. And why Caleb didn't throw it, I can't answer that. But the point is the result turned out to be a touchdown. But he made a throw earlier in the fourth quarter to Burden on the outside. That was a wow throw. He makes a couple of those every game. We've seen the throws he makes on the run. Boy, does he throw the ball well on the run. But then there's also a lot of plays where it's just too random, where he just doesn't really have a feel for the pocket versus the route concept. So he's very, very talented, which I think we all knew. I don't think that's a bold, controversial statement that he's really talented. I'm not giving you a scoop, Colin, but I think he's uneven in every game. It's just last week they came back and won in the fourth quarter. And they were down, 14 with 5.5, 6 minutes to go. So that had a very dramatic feel to it. But every game he's a little uneven.
I want to talk about Buffalo. I mean, even great teams have awful weeks. Some Buffalo players said it was 90 degrees in Miami. It was a lot. We don't practice in it. We don't play in it. I think I worry more about the offense. I thought they should have made a move at the trade deadline to get a perimeter guy. Do you see going ahead, are you worried about Buffalo's offense?
I am, and for this reason. I've been worried about it for quite a while, and I've talked about it with my guys, at the office here. I think that their pass game, in terms of concepts, combinations, is very limited. And I think that what starts to happen, and you're dealing with a quarterback that, by his very nature, at times will leave throws on the field because he moves so well and can make so many plays off movement. So right now, he's not really trusting the process the way quarterbacks need to. Now, maybe he's not comfortable with the process. Maybe he's not comfortable with his receivers. But, you know, everybody talks about the fact, Colin, that they don't have a big-time number one. And that's true. But on a certain level, there's a bit of a cop-out element to that, because when you don't have that guy, then it's incumbent upon the offensive coordinator to create schematically ways for the quarterback to have throws that are defined. You can do that against man. You can do that against zone. You can do that. And they don't really do much of that at all. I mean, I see almost every team in the league, so I see all these other teams and what they do. And when you combine that with the fact that Josh Allen at times is going to leave the pocket prematurely and leave some throws on the field, you can have times where it just doesn't look very good.
All right, Detroit is at Philly this weekend, and what I really want to talk about isn't the struggling Philly offense. It's about Jalen Phillips.
Right.
I mean, I thought, I mean, in that game where you had a Micah and a Jalen Phillips, I thought he was so instrumental immediately. Tell me your thoughts on Jalen Phillips and what he adds to that defense, because he just jumped through the TV.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I went back and looked at my evaluation of him coming out of the University of Miami in 2021, and I thought he was the best defensive end coming out in that draft. I thought he checked every single box. I mean, he's 6'5", he's 265. He can do everything. And I think in a Vic Fangio defense, because Vic Fangio predominantly wants to rush 4. He does not want to blitz a lot. That's not the way he wants to play. Now, every coordinator will blitz if they can't get any pressure on the quarterback, because you have to speed up the quarterback one way or the other. But I think when you're dealing with Jalen Phillips, you're dealing with a guy now that gives them a true edge defensive end. You can even bring him inside at times if you choose to. And he is a dominant force, and you saw that in the game against the Packers. But, you know, I think we just need to say one thing about this Philly offense. I'm sure you watched the game. Yeah. I watched it on tape, obviously, in detail. And I was very, very surprised and kind of befuddled a little bit, because I felt when I finished watching the tape, I felt like they played that game to minimize the impact that Jalen Hurts was going to have on the game. And I thought there was one play that really stood out to me. It was late in the third quarter in a scoreless game, Colin. It was 3rd and 12 on the plus 26-yard line going in, and they handed the ball off to Will Shipley. They're giving up. That's a give-up play to get a field goal in a scoreless game when Jalen Hurts is your quarterback. I just felt that game, and I don't know the reason why, but they played that game to minimize Hurts' impact on the game, and that really surprised me.
Yeah, after the bye last year, you remember, they started taking throws away from Jalen Hurts. Nobody knows a quarterback more than the team that drafted a quarterback, and they're telling you what they think.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, because my guess is Sunday night against the Lions, we're not going to be looking at a 10-7 game. That would be my guess.
Yeah. All right. Seahawks Rams. One of the things that's fascinating about McVay is if Devontae Adams is banged up and he's supposed to play, he'll go to 3 tight ends. He's always done that. He reinvents himself, it feels like, any week. What do you make of what you've seen from the Rams offense, which is so efficient, no penalties, Stafford's an MVP. Yeah. What do you make of it on film?
I don't think enough is being talked about regarding what they've done. I mean, 3 weeks ago, they went to 3 tight ends really as the foundation of what they do. They've had 40% basically or more 3 tight ends in the last 3 games. And keep in mind, in the first 5 games of this season, they didn't have 1 snap with 3 tight ends. Last year in 2024, they had 3 snaps with 3 tight ends all year. So to dramatically make this kind of shift, Colin, in the middle of a season is truly remarkable. You don't see that kind of dramatic change hardly ever in the National Football League, particularly in an offense, and it's been really effective. In the last 3 games, okay, just the last 3 games where they've done this, Stafford has thrown 8 touchdown passes when there have been 3 tight ends on the field in the last 3 games. That's truly remarkable.
Yeah, it's Seattle's a handful. Both these rosters are loaded. Do you think the Rams match up with Seattle's aggressive defense?
Yeah, you're dealing with the two defenses that stunt the most of any team in the league. They don't necessarily blitz a high percentage, but they're very aggressive with their multiple stunt concepts, and they've got a lot of defensive linemen up front who are very good at that, whether they're penetrators, whether they're loopers, and that's how they generate pressure, and they're very aggressive. And I think an overlooked player is the rookie for Seattle, Nick Emenwari, who's being used by Mike Macdonald, kind of the way he used Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore. 6'3.5", 6'4", 220. Emenwari can pretty much do anything. They're using him as a second-level defender who basically can play the slot. He can play in the box. He can be an overhang defender. He can match up to tight ends. So it's been a really interesting sort of transition now that Emenwari's healthy. But this Seattle defense has been really, really good. And they play nickel because of Emenwari more than any team in the league.
Okay, so Denver hosts Kansas City. Is Denver's defense, which if they didn't have it, they wouldn't be winning these games, is it personnel? Is it scheme? What jumps off the tape?
It's both, because Vance Joseph is very good with his blitz concepts, but because of the personnel on their front, they can do what we call gap you out, meaning that they can create one-on-ones with their defensive front, and they can win one-on-ones. Not, people think of Benito, they think of Cooper on the edge, but Zach Allen, Franklin Myers inside, they can win one-on-one. So very often they line up in 5 or 6 man fronts, which dictates what we call 5-0 protection, meaning that the offensive line matches up one-on-one because they have someone in front of them. It's 5 or 6, players on the first level, so they gap you out. They make you block them one-on-one, and they can win those one-on-one matchups. And again, for the second year in a row, they're leading the NFL in sacks, and this year they're leading by a wide, wide margin.
Does Kansas City match up with Denver? Does Kansas City's offense match up man-on-man blocking them?
It'll be interesting because we know Jawan Taylor at right tackle has struggled pretty much for the last number of years. He'll face mostly Jonathan Cooper. I don't know if Josh Simmons is back this week or not, playing left tackle. But either way, Nick Benito is a handful. So at some point, this might have to be one of those Mahomes games where he moves around and makes plays, which, of course, he's very capable of doing. But they're very quick. They're very strong, the Broncos, with their front. And they pretty much cause problems for everybody.
Okay, so in the game in Berlin, that first half, I thought the Colts and Daniel Jones dominated, but Daniel Jones the last 2 weeks has started looking like old Daniel Jones with ball security issues. So he's obviously the best he's ever been. Are you worried a little bit on the fumble stuff? What's the film say?
Yeah, the fumbling is something he has to clean up. The other stuff I'm not really worried about. It's the fumbling. That you cannot do. But, keep in mind, and I'm not sure a lot of people are aware of this, we think of Jonathan Taylor, and he's obviously a great back. But the Colts have the most first down pass attempts of any team in the league. So this is not just let's hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor. Now, he has a lot of first down rushes as well. He might be at the top of the league in that. But they throw the ball a lot on first down, and that is absolutely the best down to throw. So I'm not worried about Jones throwing the ball as a passer, but the fumbles have to be cleaned up. I'm not saying anything a coach wouldn't say, but you just can't do that. But I think he's seeing the field well. Even in the Pittsburgh game 2 weeks ago where they lost, he made some big-time throws.
By the way, let me just throw this out there. We were talking about this earlier, is that we've watched Darnold and Baker be reborn and take team-friendly deals.
Yeah.
I've been watching Mac Jones without Pearsall and without Ayuk. Doesn't have his top 2 guys. And I'm not disputing how valuable Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and Shanahan are. But when you look at Mac Jones, my take is I think he's the next Darnold and Baker, that you could get a very team-friendly deal. I think he throws a good ball. I don't think he's nearly as athletic as Darnold. Does the film say he's an NFL starter? Because his numbers say that.
In a specific system. I think he's in the perfect system. It has to be choreographed. I don't think he works for everybody. Keep one thing in mind. Now, granted, they don't have a vertical dimension in their offense. There's no question about that. But he's not necessarily a vertical guy. He's a timing and rhythm player. I think if you sign him, and I think he can start in the league, Colin, but I think the system it has to be a very good marriage between system and quarterback. He's nowhere near as talented as Darnold. He's not as talented a passer as Baker. So he has to be the correct fit. He will not work for everybody.
J-Mac loves hearing that. He's a Brock Purdy guy.
Well, Purdy's more talented. Purdy's more talented.
Oh, look at the J-Mac. Oh, my God. He perks up. Greg Cosell, I appreciate it. Okay, so he said Brock Purdy's more talented, J-Mac, but it should be noted availability does matter. So it'd be nice if I get, Purdy would be available, but,
Yeah, I'm glad that when I say Purdy's more talented, you scoff, but Mr. NFL Films says Purdy's more talented. Oh, wait a minute. No, J-Mac. Yeah. Listen, we know this, okay? What, can we get Kyle Shanahan on the show, Colin? Can we try? Can we talk to Dave and make that happen? Well, I think Shanahan would tell you Brock Purdy is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league.
He's not going to tell you that on air.
Processing-wise, I mean, Brock Purdy is lights out. His story, how can you not love his story? You're practically an underdog from the sticks in the Northwest and becoming a radio juggernaut. I mean, that's Brock Purdy's story. Dead last pick in the draft.
Yeah, stories are not what wins games.
He was within seconds of winning a Super Bowl if his defense could get a stop. He led Mahomes in overtime in the Super Bowl. The defense can't get a stop. What do you want from the guy?
Well, so was Rex Grossman. A lot of people get
the Bears quarterback. Stop it.
A lot of people get close to that ring. Jimmy Garoppolo was a play away from that ring.
No. In overtime, Brock Purdy drove them down the field for a field goal to take the lead against the Chiefs. Okay?
Was that the game he got hurt or one of the other 6
He didn't. You are such a hater. Oh, my God.